Country Confidential.
Kick things off, before we dive into the album, what are your thoughts on Georgia football this year? What are you excited about on that front for this fall?
I honestly have not had enough time to really think about it, but I feel super positive that Carson Beck is coming back. Um, I mean, we've got a pretty good schedule. I mean, it's going to be tough. We got to go to Texas, play there. We got to go to Alabama. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think we win the East all day long. I think we'll be back in the SEC championship. We'll see if we can. We'll see if we can get her done. I think it was pretty ridiculous that we were 3 points was enough to keep us out of the playoffs. And I think once everything went down and we saw the national championship, we saw the playoffs, and we saw Georgia play Florida State, I think everybody was in agreement that maybe they should have kept us in. But it's all good. They just hate us because they ain't us. That's all it is.
I love it, but I want to chat about your debut album. It's awesome and it's so you. But when did you decide that it was ultimately time to kind of put together a longer project and thus the debut album?
I was just tired of putting out little pieces. I felt like I had the songs and I had the mental, I guess, focus to kind of thematically pull some songs together. And I cut about 7 songs in 2023, and I was rolling into the summer, and I was like, well, dang, if I just cut 5 more, that's 12. If I cut 8 more, that's 15. It was just that simple. And so it was time for a full length project. And once I wrote the song Roads That Go Nowhere, I knew that was going to be the title track, and I knew it'd be the theme of the record and stuff. So a little bit of both of those scenarios were kind of the telltale that it was time to put out a full length.
I love it. So I know you're a big guitar guy. How much did the guitar have to do with the songs that you ended up writing and then the ones that were outside cuts? Did you envision that in your mind? I know like you're just a big, big guitar guy.
Yeah, I knew from a production standpoint, the guitar was going to be the focus. And that was kind of one of my 3 things that I really stuck to. I wanted to cut great songs, focus the guitar and production, and try and challenge myself, vocally, and see what I could do. And so, the guitar was always going to be a piece of it. And it was a big part of a lot of the writing process. Some of these songs, it was an afterthought. So in the writing process, it just depended. I mean, Strawberry Wine Cheap Six Pack, I wanted that to be guitar driven. I know how it sounds, all those things. But like writing something like Old Mogi River and Someone That Isn't Me, it's kind of like that. Those are both such story songs and really live in this universe of something they're talking about. It's like we wrote the song and then I was like, all right, I'll figure out how to square peg round hole with a guitar into this.
I love it. How many different guitars are used on this album?
All of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big guitar like collector guy. I mean, and probably because I'm left-handed, so I've been forced to not be one, unfortunately. But I mean, yeah, the gold top Les Paul and my Nocaster Telly were the heavy hitters, but I played a little bit of everything. I mean, I played some of my acoustics on there. A couple of these little scragglers hanging in the back found their way into there. So they all got a little bit of love.
I love it. I'm sure financially you're excited you're a left-hander because then you can save a little bit of money on those guitars.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, would I buy more guitars and I like to think that maybe I wouldn't, but I don't know. It'd be pretty tough to like see something and be like, I could have that right now, So I got buddies who are big time in the vintage guitar collecting world, and it's like it's another tax bracket for me. So
That's a down payment on another home. Yeah.
Right. But the secret is they all hustle. That's what they do. It's like they'll sell one off, then they take that money and do this. It's an addiction.
Yeah, that's too much brain power for me. But I want to talk to you about curating these songs. There's a bunch of outside cuts, but then there's a lot that you have your own pen on. So how did you kind of balance that out for this project?
Best song wins. I mean, I've been a songwriter in Nashville trying to get cuts on my own for too long to not respect that rule, because and that was those were things I was taught by early on by Cole Swindell and like people who truly are songwriters. And he's cut outside songs, and he always said, he's like, dude, when I heard something that was great and better than I'd written, like there was no ego involved, like record the song. And so that was some of the best advice I'd ever gotten. And so yeah, there's 3 songs on this record I didn't write. Things I'm Going Through, Why I'm Drinking, and Add Her to the List. And Why I'm Drinking was, I just loved that. That was an older song that my buddy Cole Taylor had written, and it always stuck with me. I thought it was one of the more unique songs he had written. And I was like, that might be a cool way to kick off a record, a 4-minute guitar ballad, And so that was why I did that. And then I think there's kind of a pre and post mentality on this record that surrounds before I wrote Roads That Go Nowhere and after I wrote it. And I really believe that. I think everything I cut before that was like, hey, look, this sounds like a hit. This sounds like a good song. Let's just cut it. Like there was not like a ton of direction. And then once I wrote Roads That Go Nowhere, I knew we had the theme of the record, and just this, I wanted the rest of it to be reflective. I wanted it to be shades of where I come from, what I've gone through, and what I've yet to go through and where I've yet to go, So that was really the curation process. I Know How It Sounds, Why I'm Drinking, Strawberry Wine and Cheap Six Pack, Here and Her, those songs, I was like, I just like these songs. Let's cut them.
Yeah.
But then Going Places, Better at Leaving, Mulgy River, Someone That Isn't Me. Those were songs where I felt like I had a theme and I wanted it to be a part of that story and that theme of looking back and being proud of where you come from.
I love it. So I've always wanted to ask a songwriter about this. Does a song need a bridge? Is that a necessary thing in country music?
David Ashley Parker from Powder Springs didn't have one, and it certified gold. So hey, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to, Now it didn't go #1, and it barely broke top 40. So maybe it would have been a better hit if it had a bridge. I think it just depends on, does the song need to say anything more?
Yeah.
Most of the time, I think it does.
Most
of the time, I think you got to wrap that thought up, and you got to give the listener something else. Unless you just got a kick-ass guitar solo,
Let that be your bridge. But I want to go back to the album here. Is there a specific song on the album that maybe holds the most significance to you? I know it's like asking you who your favorite kid is, but let's be honest, everybody does have a favorite.
For sure. I've got a handful for different reasons, and it kind of changes, so overall, my favorite song on this record is Southern Rock. And I wrote it for so many reasons. First off, it just sounds like $1 million. It just sounds, we just cut the shit out of it, and I couldn't be happier with the final product. Hardy sounds stupid amazing on it, just as good as he's ever sounded. But for me personally, that song is 8 years old. I wrote that in 2016. Wrote it with Chase McGill and Jesse Alexander. It was the first time I'd written with either one of them, and they've been some of my favorite collaborators in the writing room ever since. And that song's just very personal to me. I grew up a huge Allman Brothers fan. I grew up in Middle Georgia. I saw the Allman Brothers 6 times before I graduated high school. It was a religion, where I come from, and the roots of Capricorn Records, Chuck Leavell, and just all these little things that touch Southern rock where I come from. And then beyond the music, just the actual Southern rock on which I was raised, the things I grew up doing, things I learned in church, things I learned from my parents. It's just one of those songs that I think a lot of those lyrics could be written on my tombstone when I go, because it's so indicative of just who I am, and how I want to be remembered. So that one's probably number one. And then I think Better Leaving's badass. So that's kind of
Yeah.
I just when we wrote that song got done, I was like, this just feels good. It feels like a touch Chris Stapleton little thing. I don't know. It had a cool drinking thing to it, and so I really love that song. But I'd say Southern Rock takes the cake.
I love it. I love that you grew up on Allman Brothers Band, because my mom shoved that down my throat. R.I.P. Dickie Betts. But I just recently took my mom to the revival that they have there with their kids and everything like that, and snuck my mom backstage. So she is officially forever thankful that I work in the industry. So
that's awesome.
Thanks,
You
Mom.
talk about the Allman Betts thing.
Yeah. It's really cool, man. And
great. It's
and
really
they bring out some other people, and I think daughters and sons. That family's so huge, I can't even keep track of it. But I want to go back to Southern Rock. How did Hardy end up on it? Was that like a conversation just in passing, or was that like, hey, bro, I need you to come be on this?
Yeah, it pretty much was. I mean, I knew as we were recording it, I was gonna ask Hardy to sing on a song if the song felt right. I mean, he's a great friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time. His wife and my wife are best friends. Like he's a bro, and so it just always made sense. I was like, man, I'd love to have him on a song, and we like the same kind of music. I think sometimes our music is similar too. It's like, and so I had the song, recorded it, and as I was recording it, I was like, I think this is the one that he would really like. And that night of the day I recorded it was the ACM honors, and he was being honored with Songwriter of the Year, and I was performing with Billy Ray Cyrus and Fire Rose, and so we were just hanging out before the show, and I was getting a drink with him, and I just said, hey, I cut a song today that I'm gonna beg you to sing on. And he like got locked. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, can you send it to me? I was like, sorta. I was like, I don't really have a demo, and I changed some of the lyrics. I was like, but I'll send you a mix in like 2 weeks. He was like, okay, cool. So, because it was fun, like I rewrote some of the lyrics because it was just, it was an 8-year-old song. There were some things I wanted to change up, and he was like, hey, you gonna send me that? And I finally got it to him, and man, like a day later, he hit me back and he said, man, I got chills. I love this shit. Let's do it. And it was awesome. Yeah, it ran up the flagpoles. Everybody liked it, and man, he crushed it. I mean, like he's so talented on all levels. Obviously, people know he's a talented songwriter, but he is a insanely talented vocalist as well. His range is crazy, and he gives that song a run for its money for sure.
I love it. I love it. I hope that we get to see that live, because man, I think the stage would light itself on fire. But I know I was looking through some of the notes your team sent over, and you really fought for the leadoff song here, Why I'm Drinking, to be the leadoff song. Can you talk to me about that conversation, or why you were so adamant on starting it off with that?
Yeah, I mean, 2 reasons. The number one was like the last 3 EPs I've put out. Beer's Better Cold, Dirt Road Down, Then Might As Well Be Me. Like they all started with your like stereotypical kind of honky tonk rock and country thing. Like Where That Beer's Been was Beer's Better Cold, and then Call It Country opened up Dirt Road Down, and then Red Round Here opened up Might As Well Be Me. And so I was just like, I just don't want to do that again. I was like, I feel like it's a little expected. And while I'm drinking, I think it's 4 minutes and 5 seconds long. It's like a John Mayer waltz kind of song with a long ass guitar solo and this big outro. And I told my manager, because she was like, why do you want that to be the lead off track? I said, because I don't think anybody else is going to be dumb enough to do that. I was like, I think it'll be different. I think it will stand out. And one of my co-producers, Paul DiGiovanni, when I brought it up to him, he was immediately on board. He's like, I think that's a great idea. He's like, it sets the tone for just maybe this is going to be something different than people have expected. So that was really it. It was those two things. And I love that song, man. I just think I think it's really cool. To me, I think if people give it if they just turn it on and listen, I think the first two lines, it just ropes them in, just guitar and vocal, and there's a darkness to it. And man, it's a fun one to play live. It was a fun one to record. So it's really cool. I did put my honky tonk heavy metal country banger track 2 though, so as a compromise.
As a compromise.
I said we'll put it up at the front, but just not right at the top.
I love it. What is it when we were little? First is the worst, second is the best. So there you go. You won. But on the flip side, you end the album with a solo write, and I don't want to butcher the name of it, so I will let you say it. It's a really fun sounding river. So can you talk to me about ending the album with a solo write and kind of where that inspiration came for the song?
Yeah, it's the Okmulgee River. So
I don't think my Chicago accent could say that, but I appreciate
probably not. And it depends on who you ask in Georgia. Sometimes they put another L in there. They'll call it the Okmulgee River. It's kind of an oak. I mean, it's obviously a Native American derivative, but it's the river that runs through Macon, Georgia. It's the river that runs through Twiggs County, about 10 minutes from the house that I graduated high school in. And yeah, it was, I always wanted to write a song just called Okmulgee River. Because it's just where I come from. It's where my buddies took flat bottoms and fished and gator hunted and duck hunted, sometimes legally, sometimes not. It's just like where it was the river, and for me, it's just a special place. Like I rode so many back roads, up and down Westlake Road. And I have this romanticism and this love for where I come from, and not so much just like the house, but just like the ground in which I come from. And for me, my happy place was way down Westlake Road late at night with maybe a beer or two, being close to the boat ramp. And that was just a great place to go with friends or go by yourself. So the album cover was taken at Westlake Road. And we've got the Westlake Country Club, which is my fan club. I've just always tried to sprinkle it in everything I do. And yeah, man, I was sitting at my grandparents-in-law's house one night, and it was probably 9 at night, and it just finally hit me. I was like, what if it's just a conversation with the river, and just catching up and stuff. And it just poured out of me. I think I wrote it in 30 minutes, and I work taped it. I sent it to my producer, and I was like, I think we need to end the record on this. And yeah, it's a special one. I got a lot of buddies back home that think that's a hit song. I'm like, I was like, maybe in Warner Robins, Georgia, it'll be a hit. It might not be a hit in Chicago, unfortunately. They don't have the Okmulgee River, but it's, I mean, I think there's something to it. For me, I just wrote, it's just hey, it's good to see you, and I miss you, and I think about you all the time. And it's just my conversation with where I come from, and it's specific to me, but I think everybody's got something that's not a person, it's more about a place and a feeling that they have those conversations with. And this whole record is so mixed to the wall, your big, loud Nashville country album. And I thought it was really cool to end it not on that note, end it on just the guitar and the vocal.
I love it. So I got to ask you, is your wife the ultimate A&R? Does she have any decision or any pull on what ends up on the album?
Yeah, I play her everything. She definitely helps with what's on the album. Sometimes I'll still cut what I want to cut. She doesn't like it, but no, I mean, she's, my wife is actually, funny enough, she's just not really a big country music fan. I mean, not that she hates, she likes some of it, but she just don't put on the radio and listen to country music. She loves Taylor Swift, and then she loves Bon Iver, Gregory Allen, Isaacoff. She loves very folk, the saddest shit you've ever heard in your life kind of songs. Lana Del Rey, like that's her bread and butter. But she's so funny. Like she's like loves Florida Georgia Line, Dierks Bentley, Luke Bryan, because she's like, she's like, ain't no better party than this stuff, So it's funny. It's funny what she likes. It's funny what she doesn't. But I'll never forget. I'll never forget when I played her Dirt Road Down, and like the chorus hit. It got 2 lines in, and she was like, "I like this one," and I was like, "Why?" She said, "It just feels good." You know, and so for me, a lot of those conversations with her, I go to her because it's such a simple reaction, and that's very important sometimes. She heard add her to the list. I was checking the mix. She was upstairs, and she texted me and she said, "Are you cutting this one?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is the mix." She was like, "This one sounds like a banger." So I mean, and that was she was upstairs. All she heard was the bass and all that, and I was like, damn, okay, cool. And so yeah, she always helps out big time on that.
I love it. So does this mean we're gonna get a big old tour out of you at some point?
Maybe we'll see what happens in the fall. I mean, I think we're going to rock this summer with Hardy on the Quit tour, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And whether we do some big old tour, we're definitely going to do a couple special headline things. And yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited to see how people dig into it and what they like, and I hope they like a lot of it. But I'll just be curious to see what they latch on to.
I love it. Hopefully you come through Chicago, because there, surprisingly enough, lots of people love you here in Chicago, including my massive group of girlfriends. When I told them I was talking to you today, they're like, "Can we get on the Zoom too?" And I'm like, "No, you may not."
We ripped a little Joe's show back in, God, I guess 2022 or something, man.
Yeah.
I love Ed, man. He's always been such an amazing guy. So yeah, we'll come back.
I
Joe's
love
on beat, get a little rowdy, have fun.
I love it. I love it. We'll get you a Malort shot and then push you up on stage. Yeah.
I tried to describe that to my wife the other day, and she was like, "I think I want to try it." And I was like, "You should." I said, "You should try it." I said, "But it's the worst thing you ever had."
Morgan Evans won't even talk to us anymore because we're doing a charity event with him here in Chicago, and he was interested and we made him do it. And he's like, "This is the worst thing I think I've ever had in my life." So
The closest thing I've ever tasted to it, and I think this is the best way to describe it, is it tastes like a bar mat shot. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yes.
That's what it tastes like. It tastes like at the end of the night at 2 o'clock, you just lifted up a bar mat. They've made drinks on it all day. They poured it in, and then they sprayed a little bit of 409 in there.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of cleaner. That's what it tastes like. It's the grossest thing I've ever tasted in my life.
I love it. But to wrap things up here, we love the album. I think it's, probably the best thing that you've put out. But what are you hoping your fans get out of it, after they listen to all 12 songs?
I just hope they love the shit out of it. I hope it hits them like the records that I fell in love with in high school hit them. And I hope they just feel like it's a solid piece of work. I hope people dig into it and go, "This is a good full-length album," and hopefully they buy tickets to come see us live.
I love it. I know we're excited. I think you're coming through with Hardy in Chicago, so
It'll be Tinsley Park. It's gonna be a good time.
Oh my gosh, the worst parking lot in the world. But
I'll be coming in fresh on a red eye from Reno, so I'll take a nap before the show.
Go take a big old nap on the hill. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder what happens, but like we're playing Cincinnati, and then I fly to Reno, play a festival, and fly right to Chicago. And that's not private, by the way. That's on like Southwest or something. I'd be cool with it if it was a nice little, G550 or something. But
got to get those rapid rewards points for you. So, thank you so much for taking the time. It's always so much fun chatting with you. And lucky me, I have the album way before everybody else. So, yay me.
Hey, what was your favorite song on there?
Oh God, it probably was Southern Rock. And then, when your team sent over everything and you mentioned Allman Brothers, I mean, I'm no angel. That's what my mom and I danced to when I was little, and
awesome.
Melissa and Jessica and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, I felt connected to that because that's what I grew up listening to. Like my mom literally shoved it down my throat, and now it's like our favorite thing to listen to. So
that's really cool. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I know. I'll be digging it for a little bit, but thank you so much for taking the time. It's always so much fun chatting with you, and we'll see you fresh off your red eye.
Absolutely. See you there.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Country Confidential.